Welcome to Jay's Analysis. I am your boomer dad, and you're grounded for the next 2 hours. I know that was cringe, but it was supposed to be because I just realized I look like a boomer dad with these glasses. No, I'm not going to be wearing. But I did bring back my cop stash.
You look good.
You're arrested. You're arrested.
Officer Handsome.
Everybody in the audience is saying cringe right now. All right. Jamie has done research. We've not talked to Jamie in a long time, but she's back on the stream. Welcome back on.
Thank you for having me.
You bet.
It's been a long time. I might be a little rusty, but we're going to keep doing this, and practice makes perfect.
Last time we talked about movies, I think it was a few years ago, but can everybody hear us okay before we start talking? Does it need to be louder? Is the noise good? I'm the cop that pulled you over? Yeah, you're arrested for being a nerd. Violation of the nerd laws. Public citation. You're not talking? All right, so Jamie's with me, and we're going to be talking about her recent research on cults. I said, you've been studying cults. Let's do top 10 craziest cults. And we clickbaited you because they're not in order. There will be in some kind of crazy order. I don't know. I don't know what her topics are going to be. I have a rough idea. So she's going to be blowing my mind as we do the cult talk. Now, before we get started, I want to remind everybody that was Amid the Ruins. People are like, who still unironically listens to Vaporwave? That's so 2017, 2010. Who cares, dude? Shout out to Amid the Ruins 1453 for making 3 albums now of Dyer Wave. I think it's pretty badass. I think the Dyer Wave 2 was the most successful of that trilogy.
I like it.
Shout out to Amid the Ruins 1453. His channel is in the description. You can subscribe to Amid the Ruins 1453 if you feel so inclined. And people are saying, are you chewing tobacco on the stream, babe?
Just gum.
Just dip. It's just Red Man. Oh, that's racist. So, yes, this is my girl Jamie. By the way, Jamie was received into the Orthodox Church when? Year and a half?
June 30th.
Year and a half?
Yeah.
Almost?
Yeah. Yep.
So, how do you like Orthodoxy?
You can't live without it. When people ask me...
And you were formerly in the Illuminati before you joined Orthodoxy.
Yeah, I was an evil witch.
She was an Illuminati witch before she joined.
No.
According to the internet, you are.
When people ask me about Orthodoxy, what I say is, imagine someone just gives you a giant chest full of priceless treasures for free, and you get to spend the rest of your life unpacking this, and you never get to the bottom. That's what Orthodoxy is.
Okay, that's a good analogy. I would agree.
Yeah.
And I ended up actually technically being received after you because I didn't live near a church. So
yes.
Anyway, go
my
ahead.
Christian name is Anastasia now, after the Saint Anastasia, deliverer from Potions.
Yeah, but what's the occult meaning of it? Because if we do gematria and we get all the letters together, it means Hillary's witch coven, right?
No,
or something like that.
It's from the Roman Anastasia, and she was a martyr, and her primary cause was delivering people from cults and from addictions and from devil worship. And
that's why you chose that name?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. That's my patron saint, Anastasia.
But it's all a ruse for the Illuminati, right?
No.
Thank you, Franklin Chan. We will be taking super chats. We got our longtime supporter friend Franklin Chan already done $10. Much appreciated, dog. So, no, Jamie, it's not a former goth girl. That's pretty funny though. Are you a former goth girl?
No.
No, Jamie was.
Was Baptist Christian.
She was raised Baptist.
Homeschooled.
Right.
Church all the time.
MK Ultra.
Mm-hmm. Until about 10 years ago, I stopped going to church.
Daniel, everybody asks, who's your patron saint? Daniel.
Yep.
Go ahead.
for a long time, because I was very disillusioned with Protestant church and Christianity and the weakness of their convictions regarding the wokeness of all this information we're going through. They weren't very receptive to anything that I was trying to enlighten them with. So
I can't
it's very
tell.
frustrating.
Yeah, I can't tell when people are joking or not in the chat. But
What'd they
yes,
say?
Jamie's my CIA handler. The haters are so dumb that you can't even tell when they're joking and when they're not.
Oh,
But some of them literally believe stuff like that. But anyway, so all right, we're going to talk about crazy cults because, as you said, your patron is help cults. People come out of cults.
and addictions. Yep.
All right. And we're going to do 10 crazy cults. Now, we had a few questions about, are you going to do Osho? Actually, I'm thinking we'll just do a whole show related to Osho. In fact, Tristan and I were going to do a show, and then he got the flu or something the past couple days. So Tristan and I won't be doing our normal stream that we were going to do. But we are going to do a stream on Osho in the future because it deserves its own show because there's so much of the intelligence background type stuff that goes on when it comes to Osho. So we're going to cover that in detail. But that'll have its own show. This is 10 other crazy cults other than Osho.
Yeah. This isn't
Oh, show me the money. Oh, show me the money.
for show.
Remember-
Osho.
Remember in Jerry Maguire?
Oh, yeah.
And Osho's all about that bank,
It
dog.
is.
He had 17 Rolls Royces and that Indian woman who's his lover,
Sheila.
Sheila, she goes, and he will have 20 by the time of the end of this show. And then when they questioned Sheila, she said, tough titties. Tough titties.
They said, "Are you gonna do your
Titties.
do your sex cult stuff?" Right?
Yeah. Yeah. And she said, tough titties. They took the stones from here. All right. I don't know what the 10 cults are.
Well, these.
You want to start?
Yeah, these aren't my personal top 10. This is from a book that we found in Nashville.
You found.
I found. And the title of the book is The Most Evil Secret Societies in History by Shelley Klein.
Okay.
So this is a Barnes & Noble book, so it's not that in-depth. It's just kind of skimming the surface. But there's some old ones, some new ones we've known about for a long time, and ones we've never heard of. So we'll just see what Shelley has to say about the most
Do you people
evil
have,
secret society.
do you have autism in the chat? I'm not saying that was a section of the documentary when he had 17 Rolls Royces and then he got 20. Some dude's trying to correct me on the information. I'm just block this dude. It's getting on my nerves. Yes, I know he later got more Rolls Royces. It was a section of the debate. I mean, of the documentary where he said that. Mm-hmm. She says that on, I think, she's on Oprah or Donahue. And she says, he has 17 and he will have 20 by Monday. Yeah, I know. If I read the chat, I get distracted. I might just
Top 10 calls that Jamie loves. Yes.
I just delete that dude. I love to ban people. I'm a chat fascist. Fascist. You're chat fascist. You mustard gases. Anyway,
So I wrote...
if I don't get the right number of Rolls Royces, I'm a shill. Mm-hmm. What a fucking liar! This guy's a liar. He doesn't get the right number of Osho's Rolls Royces. He's a shill.
You're definitely a shill. So I wrote out the 10 commandments of cults, commonalities that I found reading this book and from my knowledge of other cults. He did
And we've been watching cult documentaries.
Yeah, top 10 globalism commandments. So I wrote the top 10 commandments of cults, and we'll see
Okay.
who falls under these, who has all 10, who has a couple of them, or whatever. So the first one that you will find in a cult is the end of the world is near. That's a
Yeah,
big one.
apocalypticism
Yeah.
always. Yeah. And are you going to read all these now, or are you going to read some of them later?
We'll just say the 10 now, and then we'll get into the actual
So we're going to
cults.
do 5 cults, and then for subscribers, there'll be 5 other cults.
Yeah.
Okay. By the way, so I want to comment on each one of these.
Okay.
So the
End of the
reason...
world.
What?
The end of the world, that's a Number 1.
So you want to hype people up into a fervor, sensationalism, feeling like this is the most important time. Very similar to election propaganda. Have you noticed how election propaganda is almost apocalyptic? It's, this is the most vital election year in America's history. If we don't get out there and vote, we're going to lose this country. And of course, nothing ever changes in terms of the big scale plans when you vote whoever in, right? It's very similar psychological tactic to get people involved in thinking that this is crucial. You are the generation that's going to see the end of the world. You are the chosen. You are the elect. This is the end of the world. You alone have the truth.
Well, another thing that falls under this is the crisis. We're in crisis, so that would also include environmental things, right?
Sure. Environmentalism is a cult.
Yeah.
I'm sorry for my TBN preacher hair. I can't make it do anything else.
I like it.
Friends, put your hands on the screen. Donald Trump is going to lose the mandate of heaven. Charles, what's his name? Pat Robertson. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Somebody's got a broken goiter out there. Put your hand on the screen and God will fix it.
I don't think,
Send me 500 gold doubloons.
I don't think I have enough makeup on to be a TBN lady.
No, but you have the body structure of Tammy Faye. Just kidding.
Okay. So, end of the world is near. That's
You have
number 1.
you have Tammy Faye's giant evangelical boobies.
Yeah, I do. So, number 2 in the 10 Commandments of cults is we share everything.
Communal.
Everything is communal. Yeah. There's no private property. There's no possessions. There's no
Imagine
marriage.
all the people.
Yeah, we share everything, including wives. So
We've got to share everything, you know, mate. We've got to share everything. We're bigger than Jesus. The Maharishi Mahesh Yogi tells me we've got to share everything.
number 3 would be healthy eating, right? Which a lot of times.
Well, by the way, hold on, you're going too fast. So when we
Okay.
share things,
Yeah.
we also share our wives.
Yeah.
And of course, you made a good point about how cult leaders are always like, you know, if you come to the cult, there will be women's. There will be many women's.
That's number 4.
But the women's are always for the cult leader.
Yes, like Mormons. That's
In other words, you will bring me your women's.
Yeah, yes, exactly. So yeah, number 3, healthy eating. A lot of times you will find cults attached to health food stores and restaurants, like in Laurel Canyon. And who was that one that we watched, that documentary?
The Source family
Source
cult.
family.
The Source family cult had the first vegetarian restaurant on the Hollywood Strip. And Steve McQueen and Woody Allen would go to this restaurant. And it's kicked off, actually, the whole health obsession. If you watch the documentary on the Source family cult, you'll see what I mean.
And wouldn't you say those types of diets, like very restricted diets, make people more docile and easily influenced?
Absolutely. I mean, yeah, I was going to do another video on how the elite have used diet for millennia, really, all the way back to Plato's Republic. And yeah, he's feed the slave the soy slop, and he can't, his brain doesn't function well enough to realize and to reason that he's a slave. So, of course, yeah, feed the slaves the slave slop.
Yeah. So number 4, like you said, number 4 commandment is there will be girls. They promise
There will be
to-
many women.
You can have your
There
choice.
will be, but I will have the first dibs.
Yeah. That's number 5. All your girls.
Gives me dip, gives me that dibs, gives me that booty.
Number 5 is all your girls are belong to us.
All your girls are belong to me.
Yep. So you find that in Mormonism a lot. You know?
I took your stones right here.
It's because he cucks you.
Yes.
I
get
took
it.
your stones right here.
Number 6 is get the word out.
Wait, go back.
What?
What was number 5?
All your girls are belong to us.
Is there an allure for girls? Because girls are attracted to cults a lot. For example, Manson had, his brood of street chicks, street skanks. So what about appealing to the women? How do they get women in the cults? A feeling of sense of family?
Yes, I think probably.
No dad, no father
Exactly.
figure.
Probably a lot of these girls have a missing patriarchal father
Give
figure.
gobble, give a gobble. I'm gonna be your daddy and your mama. Give gobble.
Right? Manson could be your father figure.
Give gobble, give a gobble.
Yeah, and this makes me think of that one
I'm your mama and your daddy.
that super strict Mormon cult where the guy made a proclamation that only he could father children.
Warren Jeffs.
That's it, Warren Jeffs. Yep, he falls into this category.
Okay, but what about the girls? So he picks up street girls. That's what Manson did.
Yeah.
Okay. And
Street
Osho.
girls and girls who are interested in Eastern mysticism.
Yeah, like hippies, festival girls. What are they called? Wooks.
Wooks are the ones with dreadlocks, the unwashed.
And what are the girls called?
They're wooks.
Okay.
Yeah.
Pussy wook.
Yep. Because they
Okay.
look like Wookiees. So, number 6 is get the word out. So, you're always going to have a portion of your cult out on the streets trying to recruit new members with these.
You got to spread the gospel. Bring
Yeah.
new people in.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But you're also in that capacity, basically just doing PR, and you're working for the cult leader. Basically, just to bring more people in.
Yeah.
More energy.
It's like a giant pyramid scheme, basically.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah. Number 7, love bombing. So anybody.
I'm gonna get some more coffee. You explain.
Okay.
You explain love bombing.
Well, anybody who it feels lonely or disenfranchised or disenchanted with religion or society or politics, they come into the cult, and it is the priority of the members to welcome the new recruit with love bombing. And it's something that maybe a lot of people have never even experienced, this type of community. And it's a very strong binding agent, and this is also part of trauma-based mind control, is the love bombing, and then they take it away, and that creates that schism in the brain where you're always trying to get back to the love bombing stage. Right? Number 8 is new identity, and this is some of these things they take from Christianity, though, and they invert them. And that's why it works, don't you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think all religions have this history of giving you an identity in the religion. So, your bar mitzvah, your baptism, your confirmation,
Your initiation.
you get the name of a saint, right? I mean, Orthodoxy has this. I'm Daniel. So, in a way, but I think that's really all religions in the world, ultimately. So, yeah, they're borrowing from these patterns of what works.
Yeah. Number 9 is strict physical regimens like meditation or physical labor, building things for the compound, for the cult leader, keeping people tired, keeping people sleep deprived, which makes them more susceptible to believing kooky things. Right?
Yeah, monotonous chants.
Yeah.
What's that stuff that Osho had everybody doing? Like,
Yeah. That reminds me
do that for hours on end.
of like Scientology too, where they'll take you, regress you into your trauma and have you live it again.
The mystical order of the janitor, where you will be pleasing his Maharishi if you will please clean up the entire aisle for the next 3 hours.
Yeah.
He would be very pleased.
You're initiated into the order of the golden lemming.
Yes, that's a good way to put it.
And then number 10 is isolation. So you have to get all your followers out in some kind of isolated place on a compound where they are not interacting with society on a regular basis.
Right, good points.
Yeah. So we will see how many points these cults hit on our list of 10 Commandments of cults. And we should add Scientology to this too. So maybe we'll do more cult shows
Yeah.
because
I'm done.
okay. Cults we haven't done. Well, the first one in this book is, of course, the Illuminati.
Illuminate confirm.
Yep, Illuminate confirmed. They are the number one secret society that everyone has heard of by now, hopefully. And maybe we will find some new things, maybe see things that we have already learned, but right now we're going to talk about the Bavarian Illuminati. So, nobody can mention the Illuminati now without talking about stupid Dan Brown, who is my least favorite author of all time.
Yeah, he's
And
bad.
character Robert Langdon is the worst character in the history of fiction, in my opinion. Super retarded.
I agree.
So she starts out talking about Dan Brown and Angels and Demons. And what I thought was interesting when I watched Angels and Demons, and when they're talking about the Illuminati, the end of the movie, the moral of the story is the Illuminati doesn't exist. It's just a crazy lone nut kook who is setting up this to make it seem like there's a secret society, but it's just him because he wants to be the Pope. Right? So
Yeah, I remember that.
Dan Brown is saying there's no such thing as the Illuminati. It's just one crazy person at a time. Right? So, the first time we ever hear the word Illuminati is in the 2nd century AD when a prophet named Montanus, have you heard of him? Montanus. You heard of him?
Yeah.
Okay. He was of the cult of Sibyl, and he converted to Christianity, and he set up a group in direct opposition to the church that was already institutionalized. And then he converted this guy named Tertullian. Can you tell us a little about Montanus and Tertullian?
Yeah, it was kind of a charismatic cult of the day. It was that day's version of charismaticism, and this is why Tertullian is just a patristic writer and not a saint in the Orthodox Church. It's because he left Orthodoxy for this purist, rigorous kind of ecstatic version of, again, charismaticism of the day.
Yeah, it says converts underwent all manner of religious experience, including speaking in tongues and receiving apocalyptic visions. So there's your first red flag of a cult is the end is near, right?
So they were illuminated in their mind.
Yeah. So it says what lay at the heart of Montanus' teachings was a type of end of the world scenario. He also preached.
Heretics have always latched on to not just cults, but also heresies within the church. Heretics always latch on to end times crap.
So he was all about purifying the Christian soul and deterring disciples from coveting material goods. So we share everything, right? That's number 2. Then the second time we hear about the Illuminati in history is in 16th century Spain, and they call themselves the
Alumbrados.
Alumbrados, yeah. So do you think this is connected to Kabbalah in any way?
Yeah.
Because that's where
Absolutely.
Kabbalah comes from, Spain, in the same time period as well.
Moses Cordero. Isaac Luria.
So they claim that to be in direct communion with the Holy Spirit, and they said that all outward forms of religious adherence, such as observance of the liturgy, was unnecessary because they were illumined and they didn't need church anymore. Right?
Right.
So from there we go to 17th century France, where you hear the group of the Illuminati traveling up there. And then finally we get to 18th century Bavaria, where Adam Weishaupt comes into the picture,
Right.
who is a really funny character because he, as a young boy, was educated by Jesuit priests. And his job was the professor of natural and canon law at the University of Ingolstadt in 1775, and he made all his teachers really mad because he tried to he was a social justice warrior. Basically, he was a liberal, right? Cosmopolitan.
Rationalist, yeah.
He condemned bigotry and the superstition of priests.
And he was a communist, an early communist. Mm-hmm. Did she mention communism?
Yeah, so is that the book you have, or The Perfectibilist? Who wrote that?
Yeah.
Terry. Oh, okay.
Well, she's talking about the Order of Perfectibilists, Baron von Nigge.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's why Terry Malonce entitled his book, right? So, by the way, my publisher puts out the famous, very scholarly work on the actual history of the Illuminate confirmed by Terry Malonce, which is Perfectibilists. So, this is not a conspiracy text. This is a rigorous scholarly text, you see. Citing actual old French manuscripts. It's actually the history of the order. So there's no sigil magic going on with this kind of crap. This is the real Order of the Illuminati. So anyway.
So, of course, the Illuminati was established, or this order, the Perfectibilists, the Bavarian
Perfecti.
Illuminati. Yeah.
We are perfected in knowledge. Yeah.
Established in 1776, May 1st, May Day. So that's also...
That's why May Day is Communist Day.
Yeah. Right.
Well, May Day is Communist Day.
Uh-huh.
And that's the day of the Illuminate.
1776 was also important to American history.
Sure.
Yeah. So then in 1777, Weishaupt was invited to join a Freemasonry lodge. And he accepted the invitation, and he made the Illuminati a mixture of Islamic mysticism,
Right.
Jesuit.
Sufi, yeah, it has a whole bunch of things. Let's point something out for people. So the word illuminated, okay, that's used in tons of religions, right? It's used in Orthodoxy when you're baptized, you're newly illumined. So the word illumined doesn't mean everybody in all the religions is part of the Illuminati. This is stupid level evangelical stuff. It's a word that has a different meaning in different contexts and different religions. So, yes.
So then also Jesuit mental discipline and a little bit of Freemasonry thrown in. This is the beginning of the Illuminati. I didn't know about the Islamic part. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So then there's this story. They don't really know if it's true or not, but there was a courier who had some secret papers who was supposedly struck by a bolt of lightning and died, and then they found Adam Weishaupt's papers, and this is where they're getting some of the information about Illuminati. Sounds kind of fantastical. What do you think?
It's a famous story. I don't know if it's true or not.
Yeah. But anyways, there is a direct link between Illuminati and Freemasonry, and they call it the secret society within the secret society.
Correct.
Right.
Inner party, outer party.
Right. So then they set their sights on the United States. Let's see. Okay. So Weishaupt's goal was to obliterate moral and religious sentiment and political hierarchy.
Mm-hmm. Revolutionary.
Yeah.
Egalitarian.
So all revolution, not all, but most revolutions can be traced back to this kind of thinking.
Most modern revolutions,
yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
They're the original modern revolutionaries.
Mm-hmm. And he was all about reason and
rationalism,
science.
Enlightenment, deism,
yeah.
etc.
Radical rationalism, it says. Mm-hmm. And he wanted to do away with things like property.
Mm-hmm. Told you he was a communist.
Yeah, and marriage.
Mm-hmm.
So
he's a communist.
All your girls and property belong to us.
All your babes are belong to us.
Yep.
Get it? Babes are belong to us. All your babe are belong to us.
That's good.
I know.
That's good, babe. And then she actually says that the Illuminati is the true cause behind the French Revolution.
I know. I knew that in undergrad. I learned it in undergrad.
And everybody, a lot of the founding fathers were frightened of these Illuminists.
Right.
In a
George
way.
Washington's letters.
Yeah, except for Thomas Jefferson,
right. He
who
favored
agreed
them.
with them.
Yep.
Right.
Yep. Exactly.
So in some of these writings, they accuse Weishaupt of brainwashing his devotees and seducing them so they would act out his every wish. So this is kind of a it goes on to talk about a little bit of mind control going on in this.
By the way, Terry Melanson has a section too on Marx and him being influenced by the Illuminati confirmed. So yeah. Go ahead.
So part of the way this works is they would recruit prominent people so they could recruit other members.
Yeah,
So-
a lot of nobility.
Yeah, you see this now with pop stars in the Illuminati. Like, remember when Rihanna had that tattoo of Adam Weishaupt?
I didn't know that.
Yeah. It might have been a fake tattoo for a performance, but you can look it up. Rihanna's got Adam Weishaupt on her.
Well, Madonna had the song Illuminati. She says it's not about magic and sorcery. It's about reason. And she has a song, Illuminati. And she says it's about the Enlightenment.
Right. So the Minervals are the only visible members of the Illuminati, and these are the famous people that everyone else looks up to so that they can be curious about joining the order. Right?
Yeah. And he has a supplement of known members of the Illuminati, by the way. Terry Melanson does. And it's a lot of German, like Goethe types, these kind of people like Prussians. Jacob von Friedrich von Abel, Johann Michael Aufsprung, Edmund Ackermann, Joseph Martin Baron von Franz, Christian Heinrich Oldenbruch. It's a bunch of Austrian, Prussian, Bavarian nobility who were, and including, by the way, some of the Saxe-Coburg-Gotha types, which would connect to the British elite. So there is a connection to the British elite to the actual Illuminati confirmed.
Yeah. So I think this would fall under number 6, get the word out, and also recruit celebrities, recruit famous people, so people that are looked up to.
Well, cults have known to do this for a long time.
Yeah.
Cult, you recruit
And this,
because that gives you money, and it also gives you attention and
Yeah.
notoriety.
so this is the job of the group inside the Illuminati called the Insinuators, who are the principal agents for propagating the order by being invisible spies and seducing victims until they have been brainwashed to become a pupil. Right? And it says, in this way, it mirrors the current day practice of cults when recruiting new members, the gradual initiation of intended victims by group members who have been specifically trained for such a task.
And this is important because of the retards on the internet who talk about the Illuminati and they don't know what they're talking about. They don't know who Saxe-Coburg-Gotha is. They don't know about the actual history of Buonarroti and Giuseppe Mazzini and these figures who are actual members of these groups, and that their governing philosophy was rationalism, deism, Enlightenment deism, naturalism. That's the elite illuminists. It's not black magic sorcerers. Now, there could have been people who were into black magic sorcery, like John Dee, these kind of people, but that's not the Illuminati. They're not connected to. It's totally different. And just because some cult later says we're the Illuminati, it doesn't mean that they are.
So another aspect of the Illuminati, the Bavarian Illuminati, is that silence and secrecy were very important. So you would find the Harpocrates.
Goethe, by the way, is obviously a very famous illuminist. I mean, if you've read Goethe, it's pretty obvious.
Yeah. So it says each member of the Illuminati was given a new name. So that's the number 8, new identity. Adam Weishaupt was known as Spartacus.
Who else? Cicero.
So Niggy was Philo.
Ancient philosophers.
And they would also have code names for different cities based on ancient places, like Munich
Memphis
was Athens, Vienna was Rome, Austria was Egypt, and stuff like that. So some of the beliefs of the Bavarian Illuminati was that suicide was sanctioned. Also, there was a case for theft and murder if they were practiced for the good of the group. So basically, whatever furthered the Illuminati was good. It was relative.
Yeah.
Right?
The ends justify the means for the group.
Yeah. So the ends justify the means if you're in the Illuminati. So after you are a Minerval, then you could become an Illuminatus minor. And at this point, you were to remove any trace of political and religious prejudice. And you were also required to study the Illuminati's secret arts, such as mind control and concealing one's true feelings from others.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So you have to be good at lying.
Yeah, spies, right.
And manipulating people. Let's see. Then you could become a Scotch Knight and were privileged to enter a new lodge whose splendor was second to none. So you were initiated into this new space, just kind of like in church where it's very ornate and so having passed these, then you were illuminated into the lesser mysteries, which were revelations that required you to take on the title of priest or adept, and you were taught that there was no religion, no government on earth which answered to the needs of mankind. So basically, all other systems have failed.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the true light. Right?
And that's why it's one world order, new world order.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then also, I never heard of this before. It was kind of weird. It says, in this role, the initiate was taught there was no religion, no government, and this society was the only one privileged enough to know the, quote, secret of Jesus. Have you ever heard that before?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, hippie Jesus, the secret, right? Secret is Jesus was just a hippie communist.
Here it says, the secret of Jesus was revealed to be the reinstatement of mankind to his original liberty and equality. Mm-hmm. What does that mean?
That in the garden, or in the original evolved state, everybody was equal.
Oh.
Nobody was a king.
Oh, okay.
We're all just dudes and dudettes.
Okay.
We're all one, man. We're all the same, right?
Yeah, man. So after this, you could become a regent, which was a position that required you to be led to your lodge dressed as a slave tied with chains. And this was meant to represent the miserable position of mankind bowed.
So the patriarchy, down with the patriarchy?
Yeah. It says the regent was to be led to his lodge dressed as a slave tied with chains, meant to represent the miserable position of mankind bowed down by society and government.
Mm-hmm.
So you are a slave to all of these things.
So they're libertarian.
Yeah.
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 But they're also communists.
Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. And that's why from the time of the revolutions and the Enlightenment, you get both the libertarian wing, my private property, my free markets, and you get the communist wing, the Jacobins. The Jacobins and the Girondins, and they're both two wings of the same revolutionary bird. Mm-hmm. My two wings must be revolutionaries.
Mm-hmm. So here's an interesting thing I found. In Weishaupt's private letters, he wrote this paragraph, and it says, it is very proper to make your inferiors believe, without telling them the real state of the case, that all other secret societies, particularly that of Freemasonry, are secretly directed by us. Or else it is really the fact in some states that potent monarchs are governed by our order. When anything remarkable or important comes to pass, hint that it originated with our order. Should any person by his merit acquire a great reputation, let it be generally understood that he is one of us. So it doesn't necessarily have to be true.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right? That the Illuminati did this, right. But they want everyone to think that they're so powerful that they did.
Yeah, it's a trick.
Yeah. So this Bavarian Illuminati eventually died out.
Somebody says in the chat there, and we will do super chats here in a bit. Somebody says it sounds like anarcho-socialism. It is, and that's why again, from this wellspring comes both libertarianism, the revolutionary tradition of Adam Smith and Ricardo, and that branch, or the Girondins and the Jacobins, the total libertarian, illuminist, communists of the French Revolution.
Mm-hmm. So here she's saying that some people say that Skull and Bones is a continuation of this, the Bilderberg group.
Mm-hmm.
But actually...
Indirectly they are, not necessarily a direct lineage.
No, but this is kind of like... well, the next chapter we're going to get in is Argenteum Astrum, Aleister Crowley, who actually does say that the OTO is the continuation of the Bavarian Illuminati.
He says that.
He says that.
But he's not an Illuminist. I mean, an Enlightenment rationalist.
But Adam Weishaupt is one of the saints in the OTO. So anyway, that is Bavarian Illuminati.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good introduction. Again, if you want to read more on that, the best book is Perfectibilis by Terry Melanson. So that one's super scholarly. It's a classic, sort of the authoritative book in that subject matter.
Yeah.
All right. Tell us about the AA.
Argenteum Astrum, Orgies in Sicily is what this chapter is. And this is your boy Aleister Crowley, who, I don't know how...
Your butt buddy.
Yeah. Very disturbed kind of person. He was from a relatively wealthy family, and he did not believe in equality.
Right, the slaves shall serve.
Yeah, exactly. Right. That's part of his dictum, is that there is a big chasm between wealthy and servants. Mm-hmm. And your will is the most important thing, and if you can use people to get to the top, then that's what you need to do.
Yeah, who cares, right?
Yeah. So he led a very comfortable Victorian childhood. He was part of, his parents were Quakers, part of the Plymouth Brethren.
Yeah.
And is that where we get the ideas of rapture from?
Yeah, dispensationalism is from John Nelson Darby, Plymouth Brethren, and that's who gave us then the Scofield Study Bible, and that's all a scam, correct?
So here we see...
A lot of cult leaders, by the way, come out of ridiculous evangelicalism.
That's exactly what I was going to say, is that pushes them to...
That puritanical weirdness, and then they go to the opposite extreme.
Yeah.
Let me get some more coffee.
He said he was prepared to go out of his way to perform any act which might serve as a magical affirmation to his revolt against Christianity. And he reveled in his role as the Beast. So when he was 23, he joined the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn, which was a already established magical group that was kind of took Kabbalah, alchemy, tarot, astrology, divination, numerology, Masonic symbolism, ritual magic, and rolled them all into a giant taquito of gross stuff.
A butt taquito.
Yeah.
Taquito of butt? Mm-hmm. Your butt? Because people are asking in the chat why the cult's always obsessed with butt stuff. I think that cults are obsessed, just from a practical standpoint, with base desires, because just like in society as a whole, if you want to control masses of people, you control them through their baser desires.
Yeah.
It's the easiest way to control people.
Well,
so that's why a cult's going to tap into what are the two most basic drives: food, biologically speaking, food, sex, and emotional desire. Hence, the cult wants to appeal to, we'll give you a family, we'll give you access to the babes, we'll give you, whatever.
Have you ever heard that theory that there's certain nerve endings that are hit during anal sex that are...
Yeah, you can't talk about that.
What would you call it?
Think like KJ does, of creative workarounds.
Pee-pee in the poop?
Yes, the peep in the poop.
The peep in the poop is a very traumatic thing for your body to undergo, and it's a part of the...
So it traumatizes?
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm sure it does.
It will traumatize you into dissociation.
Right, so, yeah.
Yeah. So Crowley didn't last very long in the Golden Dawn. He had a bunch of fights with his fellow magicians and magical battles. He lasted, not even 2 years before he was kicked out of that Golden Dawn. But here's a funny thing. No, it's not there yet. Hold on. Oh, yeah. Crowley intended to pursue his own studies and fulfill his wish to learn how to render himself invisible. So he thought he could actually use magic to be invisible.
Like Mystery Man, Kenan
Yeah.
and Kel, when Kel, I forget his name, but in Mystery Man he says, "I'm invisible when you're not looking at me.
Yeah. You can't see me.
If you look at me, I lose my power. But when you're not looking, I'm invisible, dog."
He says, I reached a point where my physical reflection in a mirror became faint and flickering. It gave very much the effect of the interrupted images of this cinematograph in its early days. What a fruitcake. Don't you think? Mm-hmm. So then he meets his first wife, Rose Kelly, and they go to Egypt. And he is trying to summon up his holy guardian angel. And when they're on their honeymoon in Egypt, he's trying to do some magic rituals to summon up some sylphs for his girl. Mm-hmm. And she goes into a trance and she starts dictating this book of the law. Mm-hmm. And what's interesting about Do What Thou Wilt is in the very last chapter of this book we'll get to in the second part about Hellfire Club, their motto was also Do What Thou Wilt.
Yeah.
Right?
Rabelais. Mm-hmm. The Abbey of Rabelais.
Yeah. So, do what thou wilt shall be the whole law, love the law, love and her will. And the third, every man and woman is a star. And this made me think of, like, YouTube and everyone trying to...
To be me.
Everyone can be a star on the internet, right?
Yes, your 50 minutes of fame. Yeah. Like Al Pacino, as the devil says in Devil's Advocate.
Yeah. So then he has a daughter who he named Nut Ma Ahathor Hecate Sappho Jezebel Lilith. Is that a mouthful or what?
That poor kid was doomed from the start.
She was. He says, Jezebel held a place as my favorite character in Scripture, and Lilith holds undisputed possession of my affections in the realm of demons. So he named his daughter after a bunch of demons. Great. Then he goes on to a climbing expedition to Mount Kanchenjunga in the Himalayas. Mm-hmm. And the climb was to prove fatal for several members of the team, but unperturbed by these deaths, Crowley continued his travels through India. Mm-hmm. And then the girl...
And he did mountain climbing to get higher to the gods.
Oh, is that right? Oh.
The high places?
Yeah.
The Bible.
So what's sad about this is that the little girl with all the names got typhoid when they were in India, and she died as a little baby. So then he goes on, he says, screw you, Golden Dawn, I'm going to make AA. And here's another instance of your candidate being robed and blindfolded and led into a consecrated temple. Choose a motto, just as Crowley chose Per Durabo at his initiation. So let's see more about the AA.
So he utilized a lot of Eastern...
Oh.
He mixed Western Hermeticism with Eastern esotericism and Tantra. Mm-hmm. Created his own thing.
Here's a quote he had in his book, The World's Tragedy. It said, it included a defense of sodomy in the context that there seems no better way to avoid the contamination of women and the morose pleasures of solitary vice. The preface also contains a reference to the seduction of young boys. So all these people that say, love, man, love is the law. Like, we're not hurting anybody.
Mm-hmm. That's Crowley.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then he meets this kid, Victor Newberg, who was the one with him when he was traveling around writing the other book. I can't remember the name of it. Can you?
No.
But what he did to this kid was really sad. Like, so Crowley was bisexual. And he wanted to be with Victor Newberg. And Newberg was a virgin. And so Crowley came up with this plan where he wanted to be Newberg's sexual master. So he got him to propose to this girl. And then Crowley got Newberg to go see a prostitute to prepare for marriage. And then Crowley told the girl what Newberg did. The girl broke up with him, and Newberg was crushed. And then Crowley seduced the girl and had Newberg come over and find them. So Newberg was totally like messed up about this and became like Crowley's sex slave after that. Okay. So it said Newberg took a vow of holy obedience to Crowley after this, and they began a sexual relationship. Newberg at times found Crowley's methods unnecessarily vicious, and this is how he treated women as well, branding them. Right?
And we've seen that in other recent cults.
Yeah. Was that Nexium cult? Yeah. Let's see. His first wife, Rose, ended up alcoholic in an asylum. So did Newberg.
So they basically, he ended up a poor drug addict.
Yeah. So then he goes on to make the OTO, and they have their Abbey of Thelema and the founding of the new Aeon. And it said the Abbey's nickname was the Horsel, which was a version of Whore's Cell. Okay. What do I say?
Just be creative.
Okay.
YouTube is highly sensitive now.
Yeah. But what's interesting about this is when the people got away from Crowley, they recovered. So.
Well, he was a vampiric man, so yeah.
Yeah. Can we talk about?
I don't know. Is it exceedingly gross?
Kinda.
Okay.
Can't talk about it.
Well, let's save that for the subscription part.
Oh, okay, good.
And we'll talk a little bit about the really gross stuff.
Okay.
Not on YouTube, but on audio.
Okay, we'll save the rest of the gross Aleister Crowley stuff for later.
Okay.
Okay. You want to talk about Thule? Do we want to...
What's next? Pick another one. We'll do one more. We got another weird one.
Let's see. Muti? I don't know if we can do this.
Are they really
now.
gross?
Yeah.
Well, can you talk around them?
Child. Okay.
Say the young were offered.
Okay. So the Muti is an African cult.
Now, I don't know about this one. So this one's new to me.
I didn't either. So they basically do child offerings so that they can have an advancement as a culture in the way that they say that Jesus was sacrificed for the good of the community. That's their theory.
So because Jesus died the way he did, we just need to repeat that with the youth. Mm-hmm. Youths. Mm-hmm. Offering of youths. Okay.
Yeah.
Bad theology, but Christ is final sacrifice. No more needed.
So maybe we should skip this one.
Okay. What's the next one? We'll do that one for the NC-17 audience.
How about the Tong?
Okay. I don't know a whole lot about the Tong.
The Tong. Big Trouble in Little China.
I do know about Big Trouble in Little China.
Yeah. So the Tong came.
What's up, 6-foot guys? Got you up against the wall. Bangs the top of your favorite head against the wall and says, "Have you paid your dues?"
Yep.
Checks in the mail.
So the Tongs and the Triads came out of China when a Manchurian ruler came down and conquered China, and they established the Qing dynasty, which the rest of China did not appreciate. So the people who were loyal to the Ming dynasty made secret societies called the Hong.
Mm-hmm.
And then secret codes and clandestine rituals were adopted in order that that society could operate without detection. All members were required to learn the martial arts.
Interesting.
So,
William Hung,
yes.
the YouTube winner,
Yeah.
or American Idol winner, was the leader of the Tongs for many years.
So the Qings ruled for a long, long time until 1911, and then they had the newly reformed Republic of China under a former military general by the name Yuan Shikai, who was not a very good political leader. And the people looked elsewhere for guidance and turned to the secret societies who flourished. So then they start to immigrate to America, and this is where Chinatowns come from.
Okay.
Sprang up all the way down the East Coast and West Coast of USA. So the different Chinatowns served to facilitate the establishment and growth of the Chinese secret societies, the Tongs and the Triads.
Didn't
So they're
really.
like
I
little
kind of figured
cells.
that, but
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, that's kind of how it is in Big Trouble in Little China, actually.
Yeah. Well, that's what we're going to get to because they're all about kidnapping girls and extortion
Right.
and stuff like that. Okay. So this was interesting. It said, originally the word was tang, meaning a lodge or hall, although this generally referred to the group operating within such a hall rather than the building itself, much as a Masonic lodge refers to the members of the society rather than the place in which they meet, and a church can be the congregation as much as it is a building where the congregation worships.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So the tong is a...
Building.
or a congregation.
Right.
So the immigrant Chinese people were, under the rule of the Tongs and the Triads in the Chinatowns because
Right.
they did not trust
They're mafias.
the government.
Right.
So they would rather have internal conflict
That's how the
and gang warfare than
Irish mafia and Italian mafia did the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Gotcha.
So when they would come, it said the Tong would be the first organized group to set up all the operations there. They fashioned themselves to serve as a particular type of social unit, looking after all those who belong to their group, ensuring safety, protect the interests. So they would go to like a restaurant and say, you pay us X money a month and we will not wreck your restaurant and send hoodlums to ruin your business. So basically just extorting money all over the place. They were renowned for running illegal gambling, drug rings, extortion gangs, and prostitution rackets. So like the big five of whatever mafia.
Vices.
Yeah.
Black markets.
Yeah. Oh, and that's funny because a lot of these secret societies and cults, and they promise you girls, but a lot of times the girls are prostitutes. Right?
Exactly. Or honey traps.
Mm-hmm. It said, this is interesting. There was so many more Chinese men coming over than women. It was like 10 to 1. So this meant that the Chinese prostitution rings were incredibly lucrative because Chinese women were worth their weight in gold, basically, because there was not a lot of them. But they would regularly kidnap their rivals' women and hold them. Isn't that what Big Trouble in Little China is about?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's in Big Trouble in Little China by
Yeah.
John Carpenter.
So then there was all these like fights breaking out. Like,
That's also in Big Trouble in Little China.
yeah, but
beginning.
this was real. Like in the Wild West, you could walk into a saloon and there'd be like Chinese men with machetes killing each other. Right. Let's see. Yeah, so the triads, and they were always feuding amongst their own kind. They were uncomfortable with outside police presence. And this led to laws being enacted to stop the immigration of Chinese. So, Chinese Exclusion Act of 1882. So, basically, no more Chinese. And even if they left, they couldn't come back. And this was extended, like, for a long time. Until 1943, and then only 105 Chinese people were allowed in the United States per year because of these gangs.
Interesting.
Yeah. So they were all about extortion, kidnapping. Let's see. Oh, okay. Black markets.
Right.
Can I say people trafficking?
Just say black markets.
Black markets. Okay. Well, that's pretty much all about the tongs. I mean, it's not a really
Right.
long, esoteric thing.
So essentially just mafia is,
Yeah.
is what this is, right?
Yeah.
Right. So we'll skip that one
Okay.
for the part 2.
All right.
You want to do one more? Have we done 5 yet?
Yeah, we did 5. So
Okay.
we can finish up with the really weird ones and where
So
we
the
can
second
say
half,
whatever we want.
The second half will be the really crazy ones. We'll try to figure out how to be creative in the way we talk about certain things so that we don't destroy the channel. But we'll read the super chats now. Franklin Chan, thank you again, $10, big supporter. Daniel and Nia, $2. Nice Stash and Burns. Yeah, I probably won't keep it. Just did it for the heck of it today to look like an 80s action cop. Thomas W, $2. Jamie, is Jay a secret thought by night? Yes. And I'm not just a secret thought by night. I'm an
And day.
open thought in the day.
Yeah.
Paul Albert, $10. Thanks to both of you. I like this format. Thank you. Yeah, Jamie was eager to get back into talking about crazy stuff. So thanks for coming back. And thank you, Paul, for that support. Much appreciated. James Johnson, $20. Jay, in September, Patriarch Kirill met with Francis of the Vatican to talk World Church. Kirill brought a piece of metacarpal. Do you think Kirill was hip to World Church or literally giving Francis the finger? Yeah, I think that it's a difficult position if you're the Patriarch of Moscow to try to balance between East and West and have friendships and whatnot. It's not inherently wrong to have meetings with other dignitaries because these people represent countries. That's not ecumenism. It's not ecumenism to have a Roman Catholic person come to an Orthodox church. That's not ecumenism. The violation of the canons is very specific about what ecumenism, where it violates, and that would be if we were to go to the services of a Roman Catholic or something like that to pray in their liturgical services would be, according to the 6th, 7th Council's canons, a violation. So we can't do that. That's what's the wrong ecumenism. Or to say don't make converts, that's a violation of ecumenism. But I don't know about handing a metacarpal. I didn't know about that. So I couldn't say what his motivations were. But thank you for that, James Johnson. Much appreciated. Shining Diamond, $2. Jay, will you debate any YouTube leftists? I suppose, but that's never come up. Nobody's ever offered. No leftists have ever extended an invitation to debate. They probably wouldn't want to. I don't know. I wouldn't be necessarily opposed to it. I guess it would just depend on who it is. Doth, 4580, £5. Keep up the good work. God bless you both. God bless you, Doth. Lost my spot. Elvis Oxford, 5 A's. What do you think about, what about Peter Joseph from Zeitgeist? He thinks Jesus is a plagiarized myth and wants to start a Logan's Run society. I mean, that's obviously totally from the UN Jacques Fresco plan. Obviously, I would be opposed to that. And many people have debunked the sort of low IQ tier Zeitgeist analysis of Jesus. But thank you for that, Elvis Oxford. Appreciate your question. I don't put any stock in that stuff. It's kind of basic bitch level stuff. No offense to you. Lunar Force, $5. Any thoughts or opinions on Rudolf Steiner and anthroposophy? Would you consider it a cult? I would say so. I mean, not every cult requires you to, give all your money to them or totally mind control you. I mean, not every cult has every one of the 10 commandments of a cult. They could have 5 commandments of the cult and still be culty. But I would say Steiner and anthroposophy is. I mean, Blavatsky's theosophy is the basis for the United Nations. Would you say it's a cult?
What is?
Rudolf Steiner, anthroposophy.
I don't know what that is.
He's the student of Madame Blavatsky.
Oh. Yeah?
You know what he studied
I never heard
theosophy.
That word.
Okay, basically theosophy.
Oh. Yeah, and it's also branched into a lot of other different, like...
well, that's one of the branches.
Thule and Nazis. Right?
Yeah. Josh Baker, new member. Thank you for joining, Josh. Welcome. Glad to have you here. You'll look under the community tab to find the posts for part 1 and part 2 for members. Glad to have you on board. The Mahok, 2 A's. Thank you for those A's. Mahok. Conjure. Glad to see that Jamie is still around. Yes, she did not fade into non-existence or non-being. She still has substance and being. Nano Nerd 10 Canadian. Hi Jay and Jamie, great show. Based on your works, I know to avoid what the technocratic cult promotes, but how do we survive in the New World Order as the future gets crazier and crazier? Thanks. I think the basics of try to be self-sufficient, try to be outside of giant metropolis cities, try to be away from smart cities and 5G if you can, try to find an Orthodox church, try to be as off the grid, so to speak, as possible until we can't anymore, and then, I don't know. At that point, I don't know what to do. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, the church is the safe space if you really want to.
But you have to find a good
way.
Orthodox church.
Yeah.
Right? But just in terms of day-to-day living. Mm-hmm. Would you agree?
Can you cover it? Yeah.
Shining Diamond, $2. Jay, will you do a review of Team America?
Yeah.
Probably.
I love that movie.
I think we talked about it a long time ago on a boiler room, maybe. But, yeah, we should probably redo that. Google account, $2. Thoughts on astral projection and astral vampirism? I would say that we probably should not do astral projection. I don't know what to say about astral vampirism.
I think that falls under the category of like demonic attacks. So whatever you could do to up your defenses, put on your armor of God. And,
you need to be in regular attendee of the Orthodox Church. So that's what I would say. Mm-hmm. Attend the liturgy. Admiral Squatboard, $5. Digging the 80s boomer stash. It's a shame that you guys have to get creative and say, you can't say, well, I mean, yeah, it's unavoidable though, because it's the algorithm mainly, right? I mean, they can't police all of these different videos. So it's the algorithm, and you have to figure out ways to speak about things without saying the terms, because the algorithm is just looking for the term. Algorithms can't detect nuance. Hot Lava, $10. Off topic, it's not a huge problem, but basic level question. Why did God allow INCES in the beginning and then changed it? Aren't morals supposed to be absolute and unchanging? Great question. So the answer to this is, if you read, by the way, Father Sephiroth Rose's big book, Genesis, Creation, Early Man, which we'll be doing talks on soon. If the closer that we were to Eden, things were different. If you remember, in Genesis, people lived a lot longer, right? So our constitution, when we were booted out of Eden, Adam and Eve, our forefathers, it was different, and not everything was exactly the same. And for us, although morals and laws are a reflection of God's holy character, there is some flexibility there. So they don't reflect the essence of God, which, by the way, this is a problem in Roman Catholicism, because if the moral law, eternal law in Roman Catholicism reflects the essence of God, which that's what they say it does. That's what Aquinas says. And then they say that in the Old Testament, God allowed polygamy to David and Solomon, and then changed this. Then they believe that the moral eternal law, which is a reflection of the essence of God, can change. And they believe that polygamy is a mortal sin. Well, this is ridiculous, right? So that's actually a problem for Roman Catholicism. It's not a problem for Orthodoxy, though, because we don't believe that the moral laws or commands are reflections of the very essence of God, but they are, in a sense, a reflection of God's energies or his character. So in that regard, God can condescend to man to have different stages or phases of leading us back to him. And that's really what all of history is. So at the time that Adam and Eve were booted from Eden, there was no other option to produce offspring other than the other children that Adam and Eve had. So it wasn't biologically and genetically a problem at that time. It's not until later on, and as we get further and further away from Eden, after Noah, right, that it becomes more and more of a problem, a moral problem. And that's why prior to Moses, it would be wrong, but specifically in Mosaic law, you have the beginning of the forbidding of, to what cousin you can't marry somebody and this kind of stuff, because that prevents the genetic deterioration that happens, as well as it being a moral sin. So there is moral law. It is a reflection of God, but it's not so tightly knit that there can't be alterations at times. And that's how, by the way, God can have a standing command, which is to be done for a certain time period. And then once it's fulfilled, it's no longer to be done. So there's flexibility there as well. That's why the Mosaic law can be instituted for a time period as a tutor to lead us to Christ, Paul says. And then when Christ comes, we don't need Mosaic ceremonies to be performed in the way that they were previously performed. So the same principle is all throughout Scripture, right? Of God allowing or permitting or giving certain things for certain time periods, right? The conquest of Canaan's land, that was a standing law for a certain time period, right? It's no longer necessary to conquer lands in Israel. That's not what the church is supposed to do. Well, we're supposed to do it through the gospel, but not to gain literal lands, right? So that's the answer. The answer is that the closer that we were to the fall in time, the constitution and makeup of man was different, as was all the world, right? Methuselah was like 900 plus years old. And then as we get further and further away, things change. And so we need updates. We need revelations from God, right? They're not updates that are just made up. I mean, there's a consistent pattern from Genesis until the coming of Christ that is a holistic revelation. So it's only God who could have the authority to tell us to no longer do the animal sacrifices. And that's precisely what happens in the New Testament. Christ, who gave the law to Moses, says, "Now I have come." Those ceremonies are fulfilled. That doesn't mean everything in the law is done away. For example, Jesus says, not one jot or tittle will pass away. So therefore, when Leviticus 19 says, love your enemies, Jesus repeats Leviticus and says, you have to love your enemies. So that's still binding, right? So in other words, Jesus and the apostles tell us what's done away, or fulfilled would be a better way to say it, and what is still binding. And so even the ceremonial laws, spiritually speaking, are still binding. Even those haven't been done away. So even the aspects of when you're reading through Leviticus, there's still spiritual principles there that are still binding. But the actual external observance is not, and that's what's been altered. So the spirit of the law is what matters, and that's what we're talking about here. So that's the same for who would Adam and Eve's children have married. That's the same answer. So then once you get a lot of people, it's no longer a problem because of the genetic variation amongst the descendants. As time goes on, the genetic variation is different, and that's when you start to have laws against that. So the answer is that morals do and do not change, right? We're not in a dialectic, so there's a sense in which at times there are changes, and that's because sometimes there's revelation that's forever binding, and sometimes there's revelation that's time-bound or a standing command that's fulfilled. Mahook, $5. What do you think of Big Lenny and the... I don't know who Big Lenny is. I don't know who the Delray Misfits are, and I don't know who our boy Wes Watson is. So I'm sorry, Mahook, that I can't give you more. I don't know who that is. But I thank you for that. Those 5 A's. Countess Jen, $10. Thank you, Countess Jen. We are forever indebted to our Illuminati Countess Jen, because all of the Illuminate were like Baron von Niggy and countesses, counts. Did they have women in the Illuminati? Or is it all men?
Good question.
Probably all men. I don't know. Off the top of my head, I don't recall. Raffling steaks, $5. Jay, does it make more sense to do these types of videos on BitChute so you don't have to censor as much? Well, the problem is that when I post the videos on BitChute, they get 30 views. So, I mean, I have a BitChute channel, but you know how hard it is to get people to go? They won't do it. So, I mean, might as well just keep doing it until you can't. And you guys are smart. You can figure out what I'm talking about. Plus, it makes me get creative to figure out ways to come up with new terms. Straw Hat Bear, $5. Much love, man. How did you two meet? We met through podcasting and interviews. But thank you for asking, Straw Hat Bear. Hair Abubu, 50 Knox. Rudolf Steiner is a sort of big thing in Norway. Didn't know that. A lot of private schools are built on his ideas. Yeah, I know that the Steiner influence is involved in a lot of those weird private schools. And that's ultimately connected, I think, to the UN. I have read on that in the past. But thank you for those 50 Knox. Straw Hat Bear, $5. Can you on air tell? I think that, can I talk on air about why Dr. Taylor Marshall is afraid to debate? I mean, he would just say that, he thinks I'm just annoying or something. But we used to argue on comments on blogs 10 years ago, and he, at that time, was not familiar with the Essence Energy debate and argument. He was studying for his master's or PhD at the time, I don't remember. And so he and I would have exchanges, and the significant discussion that we had was over John Damascus's exposition of the Orthodox faith, and all Taylor Marshall did was go and pick out the section where he says that God's energy is one, and that he thought was the final refutation, as if the whole other rest of the book isn't about God's energies also being multiple. So he's actually kind of either dishonest or just lazy and didn't read the book. So he knows he would lose that debate. That's why he won't debate me, and that's why he blocked me. So yeah, I mean, what do you expect? He has a lot to lose the debate to me. So now he's caught in this sort of circle, the spiraling thing of how to remain a Catholic when the entire papacy is collapsing in on itself. So yeah, that's what you get when you want to be hard-headed like that. But that's all. Roman Catholicism is just vanity and intellectual philosophizing and basically lawyering and explaining things away. So that's what the whole religion is based on. Anyway, all right, so that is the first half of the cult talk. By the way, there's a standing offer. If Taylor Marshall wants to debate, I'd be glad to debate him, but he won't do it. And we know why these people who, by the way, they're not that much bigger names. We have almost half or more than half of the audience that they have. And if we count my website, there's 30,000 plus followers at my website. I mean, we're not too far from these people. So, yeah, I mean, we know why they don't want to debate, because they would lose. It's not too hard to figure out. I mean, I've already debated PhD Thomas. They were lost in the debate. Taylor Marshall's not going to fare any better than Dr. Feinberg or whatever his name was. Jamie, tell us about your book, which you can still get signed copies at Jay's Analysis. There's still some copies left. Just real briefly, what's this about?
This is Weird Stuff Part 2.5, Hollywood Mind Control. And this is all about, we go into the lives of the pop stars, mostly under Monarch programming. We got Beyonce, we got Katy Perry, we got Britney Spears, we got Miley.
But you also talk about, like, cults. There's a lot of cult stuff in there.
Hollywood is Babylon. Michael Jackson. Yeah, Madonna.
Hee. El hee.
Yep. So if you want
Jacko.
the deep and personal information about the lives of your favorite pop stars, it's in Hollywood Mind Control. And then there's also Weird Stuff Part 1 and 2.
I don't have the signed copies of
Get
all
you ready
those.
for
Though.
that.
I have a couple copies, but you can get those other two if you just search online, right?
Yep.
So if you want to subscribe to Jay's Analysis, there is the link to Jay's Analysis for the purchase of membership at my website. That's immediate access to the archives. But you can also join directly now on YouTube if you want to. John Goras. Word is R.I. took it in the neck as far as YouTube goes. What does took it in the neck mean?
Most pagans.
Pagans. Keep it stash. Foregone. Thank you, Foregone, for that. Keep it stash. What does took it in the neck mean, John? Put that in the chat since you gave the super chat. I don't know what took it in the neck means. You mean they got booted or something? Can't wait to read Jamie's book. Yeah, you guys will like it. You think the girls will like your book?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. I like girls.
Right. They seem to enjoy your style.
Yeah.
Oh, they got booted? Well, pray for us that we will stay around. Definitely want to... I did have some difficulties this week with YouTube on my channel. I think we've got it resolved, though. No strikes or anything in terms of streaming or anything like that. But if you want to hear the other 5 crazy cults, stick around for Cult Madness, Top 10 Crazy Cults, to hear the 5 craziest, even crazier than the 5 that you heard. We'll probably have that up tomorrow night. And by the way, you can also get Esoteric Hollywood 1 and 2 at Jay's Analysis. Signed copies there. The same place that you subscribe to the website. I'll be on with KJ again pretty soon. I'm not sure what day. We'll be talking about similar crazy topics. We will have Boiler Room tonight in 2.5 hours, 9 o'clock, Boiler Room. Sup, y'all? Come hang out with Tristan, me, Heshra Spore. Stick around for Boiler Room again. Remember, Boiler Room at 9. What else? Am I forgetting anything?
That's it. I'll be there.
Jamie will be there. And, the next movie stream will be Exorcism, Possession movies. We'll do Exorcist 1, 2, 3, and some other weird ones. And I will also have the part 2 of the Alien stream. I haven't forgotten it. I do have to do the rest of the Alien stream. So that will be up soon this week as well. This is Spooktober around Jay's Analysis, so we're doing scary movies. So the Alien stream and the Possession, Exorcism movies will be up on the queue. But God bless you guys. Have a good night, and thank you for all your generous support.